Well, we've always said that farmers, especially when it came to Brexit, were very much a representation of the country. They were very much split. 50% said they wanted to stay, 50% were very much in favor of leaving. But there was one promise that did, shall we say, do the much, shall we, oh dear me, did much of the attracting of those leave voting farmers. This was, of course, the promise by the Leave campaign that the CAP, or the Common Agricultural Policy, as it's sort of full name to give it, would be at least kept and matched. And of course, this was like, well, to a farmer, hey, if I'm keeping the same subsidies, if I'm going to be sort of, still making the same money from CAP as I in the EU as I'm outside the EU, and we're going to be getting all these again fantastic world-beating trade deals, then well, what's the risk of voting out? And well, oh well, my friends, now we see the full deceit that has happened since then. And even then, farmers have been very, very well and truly sold out. One of the big supporters, just as fishermen were, of the Brexit campaign, just as they have been pretty much left by the wayside, farmers now themselves are being just as worse off treated. But it gets even more interesting because farmers are, of course, a core vote to especially conservative areas. And we've already talked very recently about the problem that conservatives are facing the problem of, well, conservative voters not turning out to voting. So you put that in with farmers now turning against, not only not turning out to vote, but switching their vote, as we have seen from the Conservatives to the Liberal Democrats. This makes certainly the rural Conservative seats at the next general election very, very interesting. So, as always, before we go more into this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can Buy Me Coffee. And of course, as always, there is the YouTube thank you button, and of course, the Pony Club down below as well. So, what's been going on? Well, it turns out there was a Freedom of Information Act request put in to basically find out what's been going on from the CAP. Has it been paid out, and is the money being paid out correctly? So, a group called the Sustainable Farming Incentive, or the SCI, is looking at how they can sort of, certainly keep their soil more sustainable and keep it better now that they're out of CAP. However, there is another interesting point about this, that of course the Freedom of Information Act came in, and this has shown that the Rural Payments Agency, these are the people who were responsible for paying the money to farmers that they got from CAP, have only received about 0.5% of their post-Brexit money. And this will have a big knock-on effect for farmers. Because as we always said back in the referendum in 2016, look, farmers being in CAP, being able to sort of, export their goods to Europe, which again, food doesn't tend to, shall we say, have a very long travel distance. Europe's your best option if you want to get food to to the closest market as quickly as possible. It's Europe. That's not going to change even now. And of course, we got CAP primarily because well, the French basically had a mass load of farm subsidies that benefited them quite well, and of course they refused to lower those farm subsidies, and of course as a result Margaret Thatcher herself managed to negotiate the cap as part of the rebate to essentially make sure that British farmers were able to then compete against the French farmers who got a lot of subsidies from their government. So that's at least sort of one of the ways this sort of happens. But now farmers are not getting this, and there are a lot of valid complaints about CAP. Let's not it is predominantly aimed at the most CAP payments go to the farmers with the biggest land, That has been a main criticism about CAP for a number of years, and I sort of agree. I think, to be honest, small farmers should benefit more from CAP than big farmers, um, and that was something that had been talked about this new phase that had been introduced. But even then, Liz Truss had talked about completely scrapping these new environmental land management schemes, or the ELM scheme, which was set to come in to replace the CAP. But because Liz Truss was talking about abolishing it, farmers went, well, why are we going to sign up to it? So as a result, very, very few farmers have actually signed up to get the money from the ELMs. So you combine that with the fact that the money that should have been coming from Europe going to farmers hasn't been delivered. The big question is, of course, where has that money gone? That's certainly a big question that should be asked of the government. And now I think this plays right into the Lib Dems' hands. They're already sort of making, or at least trying to make a big stink of this, certainly in these rural seats, of, hey, look, the Tories promised you they'd replace CAP, you'd be getting the same amount of money, and the system would be better. But of course, that's not turned out to be the case, just has have most of all the Brexit promises to date. So, what can we say? Another broken Brexit promise, and especially to farmers. But the thing is, with the farmers compared to the fishermen, farmers are a massive voting bloc for rural Tories. And this has come back to bite them in a couple of by-elections that we've seen the Lib Dems go on to win. So it's very likely at the next general election, if you've got, as we've seen, Conservative voters not turning out and vote, and you've got the farmers who are switching their votes to Lib Dems, this blue wall could come tumbling down. And we talk about a complete and utter Tory wipeout. Well, if they lose the blue wall, if they lose the red wall, if they lose all these coastal seats that we've seen in a lot of these polls, and as we've seen a lot of Tory MPs talk about, damage control. How badly are we going to win? How can we sort of lessen the impact on this? So, yeah, it's very interesting, as they say. So, yeah, as always, do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee. We can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.